Civil War week. The Beavers have played 1,187 games in the program's history, but the 120 previous meetings against the team from Eugene have meant a little more.
Knoll straight ahead. Touchdown, Oregon State. That may do it. The only question now is, will we get a field storming?
Oregon State punctuated 2016 with a win.
We've got our answer. Here they come.
And look to make it 2 straight against the team from down south for the first time in a decade. For a preview of the 121st installment of the Civil War, we'll be joined by Coach Corey Hall.
Hey, 4 quarters.
Beavers.
Hey, bring it.
Inside the Huddle starts now.
Everybody be a playmaker today. Let's go play, y'all. Back up. Here we go. Here we go. Toward the back of the end zone. Touchdown, Beavers!
Reser Stadium has closed its doors. Autzen Stadium, you see it right there, will be the site of the Beavers finale, the Civil War against Oregon State. My favorite week of the season because Steve Priest wears his Letterman's jacket.
And it still fits, you know, it's a big jacket.
Welcome into Beavers Inside the Huddles. We'll be joined by Coach Corey Hall in just a few minutes. But, Coach, where I want to start, Steve, is with last week. Beavs digging themselves a hole early, a big hole early, and then fighting back, clawing back, and down 30 at the break. And they made a ball game of it in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've hit it, really. The important part is they've got to start fast. You can't come out and work your way into it without being ready to play football. We talked about doing a lot of things last week. Offensive protection, defense, stop the run and win the turnovers. They didn't do either of those in the first half. They did nothing. I think Daryl Garrettson had 32 yards in the first half, throwing 269 in the total game. So you've got to start fast. That's all there is to it. They've done it 2 weeks in a row. This week has to be come out of the gate swinging.
All right, let's get to our hot and cold, and it's brought to you by Pyramid Heating and Cooling. Hot is where we start, and Trayvon Bradford showing that he can do it not just as a receiver, but he can tote the rock as well. 36-yard scamper, and it was a beauty.
Well, you love this. This is a guy who's supposed to be able to return punts like crazy. This shows the talent he has. You know, he's averaging 12 yards of punt returning. He just has only had 3 of them. And he's a guy who's only a sophomore. He's a true sophomore. He's a wide receiver. He can do that kind of thing in all kinds of different ways.
And you know, one of the things I love about that, you see a 60s number, 30 yards downfield, throwing a block for him. No quit, no give up on that right there. All right, from the hot to the cold, the rush defense against Arizona State, and really the last 2 games as a whole. If you look at it, 49 attempts, 286 yards in the previous games, 375 yards a game.
Yeah, the rush defense has not done what they should. They've had problems on both the weak side and the strong side. They just aren't getting the follow through. They're still not making the tackles. They're not staying in their lanes, Dusty. They're really making mistakes with just not taking care of assignments and responsibilities. Forget the missed tackles, which they at times they're tackling well, but it's just staying in your detailed your assignments, in your particular gap. If you're leveraged, stay leveraged. Do what you're supposed to do. You won't get yourself in trouble, and you'll win.
And that was one of the keys that we were talking about, is that game with Manny Wilkins, the quarterback at Arizona State. Yes. If you're not, he could make you pay as well. One of the other cold topics from the loss to Arizona State, the Beavs. We were talking about fighting, scratching, clawing. As you see, 40-24, making a game of it. 2.5 minutes to go. Daryl Garrettson coughs up the ball, and that's all she wrote.
Yeah, and it's too bad that is cold, and it happened right then, because the Beavs were within striking distance right then, number 1. And number 2, Daryl Garrettson has done so many good things since taking over. The last couple weeks in the second halves, he's looked as good as any quarterback in the conference. And it's too bad that he had that particular situation, just a simple drop where he was looking at a read, and it happens. But that's the way it goes.
And Daryl Garrettson filling in for Jake Luton. We remember at the very beginning of the season, Gary Anderson saying he's a guy that is always ready to play. And boy, he's progressed and shown that, you know, that preparation, even as the backup, has really paid off for him.
Well, yeah, and he warms himself up. Early on, He may throw a high one or two, but by the second half, he's been great. Just needs to start it quicker.
Yeah. All right, let's hear from the man himself, the guy leading the Oregon State Beavers into the 121st Civil War. Corey Hall joins us, and he's got a new addition to the Beaver family that we need to discuss. Beavers Inside the Huddle rolls on.
And Bradford out there. Look at this space. Nicely done. And there it is for Ryan Nall, the touchdown. Nice job by Garrettson to get away. And what a throw. And up the pass snap. It is Garrettson in for the touchdown.
Finished off by the senior quarterback, Daryl Garrettson.
The highlights of last week's game against Arizona State as we welcome in Coach Corey Hall. And Coach, before we get going on this week's game in the Civil War, we got the new Beav in the family. Congratulations on the birth of Isaiah.
Thank you. Yes. I believe it's BTD 35. Yeah, I'm super excited. I'm super excited.
Great fit. Great fit.
I love it. And have you been getting any sleep now that you've got the birth of the son and game planning for the rivalry week?
Absolutely not. Last night I probably got about an hour and a half, maybe. But that's okay. I'm sleeping in my mind. You know.
Well, you've got more than a basketball team. You're almost to a football team now. This is pretty impressive. It's going to be fun to see these kids grow up.
I got a 6-man and 2 referees. I'm good.
We'll see how the family basketball games go in the Hall household moving forward.
And let's turn it to football a little bit here. First of all, I want to talk about something and that's the not injuries, but not specifics about who's injured and so forth. We know you've lost key playmakers, Seth Collins and Luton, and your corners and those kind of things. But talk a little bit about what losing those kinds of people and the numbers that have, as we look on our screen, the numbers of players that are out still. What does that do to your offensive game plan, your defensive game plan, and how you have to adjust to continue to play football with this many injuries?
I mean, and that's what I spoke about weeks prior, is you have to simplify things, right? Because now you have guys that, you know, are maybe playing out of position, or guys that need a little longer, a little more time to develop, that, you know, they're thrown into the fire. So, you know, offensively and defensively, you kind of have to simplify things and put different players, those players that are filling in, you got to put them in positions to be successful. And, you know, you have to minimize the amount of, you know, you got to minimize the things that you're going to upload into those players that are filling in those roles. You know, now looking at the defensive side, obviously, losing Xavier Crawford, Dwayne Williams, Jay Irvine has been, you know, back and forth. And so is Sean Wilson. You know, we gain a guy, lose a guy, you know, and so same thing on the offensive side of the ball. You lose a big playmaker like Seth Collins, and then now things start to change. You have to play different players at different positions. And so, you know, it's a part of the game, and it's something that has to be, you know, prepped for. You know, you always have to prepare for, you always got to have a next man up mentality, and that should include, you know, game plans as well. So to this point, and again, I always say I'm not going to cry over spilt milk. You just have to do things different, you know, when you have certain players in.
One guy that has stayed remarkably healthy all season long and very productive against the Ducks is the Duck Hunter, Ryan Nall. He's rushed for 155 and 174 games in 2 meetings against Oregon. You know, he's been historically good against the Ducks the last couple of years. Can you touch on what makes him so successful in these big moments and on these big stages against key opponents like Oregon?
I mean, everybody from Oregon, from the state of Oregon, is going to get up for this game, right? And, you know, obviously we know that Ryan Nall is a big, powerful back. And you know, when he creates space and he breaks into the second level, into the secondary there, you know, he poses problems for those guys. So, you know, he's always up for the challenge. He works hard. He runs hard. And you know, he loves that rivalry, right? He looks forward to that game. I think Ryan looks forward to every game, but I think this is the game that has a little more meaning to it. I mean, I wouldn't even say a little, a lot, you know, and I can say the same thing for Trayvon Bradford, right? You know, guys from the state of Oregon that, you know, kind of see themselves in a certain light, maybe as the underdog, or kind of like Treston Decool last year. You know, he felt that Oregon kind of dissed him. So this is the game to where, you know, everybody's going to play up. You know, Oregon's going to play up because I'm pretty sure they're aware of it. But a player like Ryan Nall, I mean, he's going to bring it every Saturday. But, you know, this Saturday in particular, I mean, like you said, historically, he's done well. And, you know, I don't think any of the fans, I don't think any of his teammates, I don't even think Ryan Nall would expect anything less.
Ryan Nall, we know what's going to happen with Oregon. They're going to load the box. The last 2 weeks, Darryl Garretson in the second half has really been a different kind of quarterback than the first half. I know that the play selection has been different and so forth, but he's gotten down the field. He's gotten more receivers into play. What are you doing with him at the halftime changes? Are you changing offense, or is this just Darryl adjusting?
Well, obviously, what you have to do for a quarterback is you have to get him comfortable with certain throws. So, you know, you want to get him comfortable with quick throws, intermediate, and then kind of push it downfield. And I think what you've seen over the course of the last couple of weeks in the second half with Darryl is he's gotten comfortable. And once he gets comfortable, he's able to see things, make different reads, and he's confident in the throws, knowing that he can make them. And, you know, so when you look at the first half, maybe you see us going down the field a lot more, you know, without, you know, letting him get acclimated to again, you know, those shorter throws, just so he gets comfortable in the scenario situations that he's in. You know, by the second half, obviously, he's already settled in, and he's reading, you know, the defense, and he understands, you know, where his hot reads are and where how everything is going to play out, you know, over the course of a game. So that's what you saw. You know, you see Darryl Garretson in the second half. He's comfortable now. Obviously, the goal is for him to come out and, you know, establish the run, control the offense, and again, just get into a rhythm.
We're just getting underway with Coach Hall as we start taking a look at the team down south and a load to take care of in the quarterback, Justin Herbert, who's back and healthy. And let's head back down to Corvallis, where Coach Hall is joining us. Now, Coach Hall, Justin Herbert made his return for the Ducks last week against Arizona, and the offense looked dramatically different for the University of Oregon. What kind of threat does he pose that is different from anything that you guys may have seen this season, because he's got that ability to run and throw the football back in the pocket?
Well, I think you said it, I mean, correctly. You know, he's a dual threat quarterback. He can, you know, hurt you with his arm, and he can make plays and keep plays, extend plays with his feet. So obviously, you know, that offense is now comfortable with their head back, and everyone's rallying around him. They're happy to have, you know, Herbert back, and they're playing that way. You know, so he brings a different element, right? A certain amount of energy to that offense, first and foremost. And then it doesn't hurt that he has, you know, a couple of good running backs back there. You know, also that's going to provide some relief for him. But he's been tremendous. You know, he played very well versus Arizona. You know, losing him early on, you know, hurt, and it was evident. So, you know, now that he's back again, he can make most of the throws, if not all of the throws. And again, you have to account for him being able to scramble, you know, extend plays. And actually, I mean, I think versus Arizona, what did he have? A 48, 30, 35-yard touchdown run. So he's a threat, obviously.
He is a threat, but Oregon's offensive game is built on a guy named Royce Freeman that you know really well. You've seen him. Number 21 is one touchdown away from the career record in the Pac-12 conference, and incidentally, it's held by a Beav, Ken Simonton. So stop him this week from that record. Talk about Royce Freeman and what he does that's so difficult.
I mean, he's a powerful back, you know, and I mean, speed, obviously, that's the first thing that pops out on film. You know, he can get to the perimeter, stretch there, get there very fast, and again, he delivers a powerful blow when he gets there on impact, on contact. So you got to wrap him up, and you got to gang tackle Royce Freeman. You know, obviously, it's no secret, right? He's what, top 10 NC2A all-time leading rushers. He just surpassed LaDainian Tomlinson. So I think his numbers and his activity speaks for itself. But what you got to do is just got to contain him. You know, you got to gang tackle him, and you know, you can't let him get started early. And that's kind of one of the things that we have to get better at. You know, is go ahead and establishing the ability to stop the run early. You know, and not wait. Let's go ahead and make those quick in-game adjustments. So you're not giving up, you know, 200 yards plus rushing, you know, in the first half. So, you know, Royce Freeman, he's a powerful back. Obviously, he has NFL Sunday talent. And you know, but still, you know, he's one athlete, and the task is going to be to contain him, and it's going to be to keep Herbert off balance as well.
I got the two foremost experts on Oregon State football, so it's now time for our Carrier Expert Picks, brought to you by your local Carrier Heating and Air Conditioning dealers. Carrier, turn to the experts.
Coach, they're the seniors. This year's Beaver team has few compared to many, but these guys have given their all. Some of them have had situations with 3 and 4 guys coaching them over the time, but they've all played really well, and they've continued this season to fight and do what they're supposed to. And this is the game that sends them off into after Oregon State years with a big win, an important win to win the Civil War again after starting it last year.
Absolutely, you know, and I said it before earlier, you know, this is 1 week, 1 game, and it's the only game that matters, and it's a great game to be a part of, and especially on the backs of those seniors, you know, and they've done a tremendous job. You know, they fought through adversity, and they show up every Saturday. You know, I haven't been disappointed with one yet. I mean, you talk about Manasseh. I mean, you talk about a guy who's battled. He's battled for the 2 seasons that I've been here. He's a tough competitor, and again, a win is what he needs. You have to send those guys off the right way, and you know, the team realizes that. You know, the young guys, the younger players, they see that, and they're working hard to send these seniors off with a win. You know, to look in the eyes of those seniors and see that, you know, this is it. I was telling them today, this is the last Tuesday. Period 1, you know, period 1 through period 20. This is it, you know, and then we'll move on to the last Wednesday of the season. So everyone is fully aware, and they're preparing to defeat the Ducks, you know, and send these seniors out the right way.
All right, Coach Hall, we're still got the keys to the game to get to, as well as the keys from Steve and myself. Beavers Inside the Huddle rolls on. There will be the site of the 121st installment of the Civil War coming up this Saturday at 4 p.m. as we're talking to Coach Corey Hall down in Corvallis. And Coach Hall, as we get ready for this Civil War tilt, what are your keys to the game?
Well, we have to start fast, both on offense and defense. You know, we have to establish our run. We got to get Daryl Garrison settled in, and we got to put points on the board. You know, defensively, we're going to have to gang tackle and swarm and contain Royce Freeman, and we're going to have to defense Herbert. You know, I mean, special teams wise, it's been solid, and we just have to continue to improve. And we just got to play with a lot of energy and with poise.
Coach Hall, good luck to you in your first Civil War, and good luck this weekend, and congratulations again on the birth of Isaiah.
Hey, thank you very much.
Go Beavs, Coach.
All right, we are locked and loaded with Beavs coverage right here on NBC Sports Northwest. Go Beavs Friday at 9 p.m. Wednesdays, it's Talkin' Beavs with a recap of the season and a preview of the offseason. If you'll notice, Inside the Huddle is not on there anymore because this is the finale for Oregon State's football season. All right, now it's time for our keys to the game, brought to you by your local Northwest Honda dealer. Stop by your local Northwest Honda dealer. Visit us online today at northwesthondadealers.com. Steve, What do you got for us?
Like every week. On defense, we got to stop the run. I think Royce Freeman is the key to this game. If you stop him and force them to throw, it's going to help. I put 150 yards up there. Nobody holds the Ducks to that. But the Beavers need one of those kind of special games. I think they could get it. On offense, play a complete game. Start early, start fast, score 35 points. You're going to need it to win this football game, if not more. And last but not least, win special teams. I mean, punting well, punt cover, kicking well, the whole works. You got to win special teams.
I love it all. All right, my keys to the game is starting off. You got to win the rushing battle against the University of Oregon. Kind of goes in lines with beating Royce Freeman. It means getting Ryan Nall going, control the clock. I think if you win the rushing battle, you're going to be doing that. But keeping the defense fresh, and they're going to go tempo. They're still going to run at you. They may not have the blur offense anymore, but they run a lot of tempo as well. And then win the turnover battle, force turnovers, create turnovers, and you're going to come out of Autzen with the win.
Yeah, and they just got to play the best game they've played all year against a really good football team, and they'll get a win.
Well, you've been a part of a Civil War win or two in your day.
Three.
How important is that win when you're in the locker room as a Beaver?
You know, it goes on and on. I mean, look, you can see, I wear this stuff, and we were 3-0 against the Ducks, and you remember it for your life. You sure enjoy traveling around Portland this week with that in mind.
Absolutely. All right, this is it for us this year, but the Beavs, they're in the Civil War, the 121st installment of the Civil War game, Oregon and Oregon State. We'll see you next season.